Cross is bringing to the table. What kind of ways are there to add to that momentum from your perspective to have this work not just for this progressive little enclave here for Holy Cross, but more broadly across Colorado and then consequently beyond our borders?
Well, it's a great question. In renewable energy and in climate, policy drives progress. That's a reality that we've seen. We know that because back in the early 2000s when renewable energy standards were passed around the country, it really created new investment and drove down the price of renewables. It ensured that they became more efficient and brought them to the point where they're now cost competitive in most applications. So that's important. It's an important lesson for us to take. So that's why we work with a lot of partners to create an economy-wide cap, because it begins to drive the same kind of reductions in other sectors of the economy. Everything that Bryan mentioned has to be on the table. We started first with the utility sector for 3 reasons. 1, you get the most reductions the fastest. 2, you have just a limited number of targets which you have to get reductions from. And 3, you get co-benefits. When you decarbonize the electricity sector and you electrify the transportation sector, you're getting extra benefit from and reducing many millions more tons of carbon emissions from the atmosphere. So those are strategies that we have to employ, and I think there are a few other things that we need to be thinking about as we focus on electrification, whether it's in the transportation sector or buildings. We also have to be thinking about agricultural sector. There's a lot of reductions that need to be gotten from the agricultural sector, both in terms of current practices, but also how can we sequester carbon through ag is an important question. We've got to look at the oil and gas sector, which is a major contributor to climate warming gases. And then also we got to look at industrial production as well. So that's the beauty behind an economy-wide goal that really begins to get reductions from each sector of the economy. Because we have to do everything, and we have to begin now.
Right. So in the time we've got remaining, you've heard not only the great progress we've made to the 70 to 80% level, but also a little bit about the challenges in terms of intermittency, control, storage, and cost that are required or will come along with a jump from 80 to 100. We've also heard the potential for how this progress and momentum that we've had in the power supply can be expanded to broader segments of our economy and of our communities through the electric utilities. You know, let's save enough time for end on a hopeful note, but let's highlight also some of the realities of the challenges to get from 80 to 100 or to do some of the rest of this expansion. Bryan, you want to kick us off with it?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Flexibility, flexibility, flexibility. At 80%, we're going to have several hours over the course of the year where we're going to have too much renewable energy. I want you to stop and think about that. We're going to have too much renewable energy. In fact, they already do in places like California and Texas, and they're actually engaged in curtailment. They're dumping this energy. They're just saying, you know what? We're not going to put it onto any useful purpose. That's investment that's already been made. It's resources that have already been extracted, albeit renewable ones, and we're not doing a damn thing with it, right? Surely we can figure out how to run society in a more integrated and optimized way so that the industrial process of perhaps making cement and capturing carbon dioxide can run flat out when we've got too much wind and we're basically saying, here, take it, use it, and can actually throttle back when continuing to run their operation would mean starting up that natural gas peaker plant and putting carbon back into the atmosphere. This kind of coordination and the development of demands that can be as flexible as our supplies are variable, that's going to be the challenge in this last 20%, and it's not going to come just in the power sector itself. It's going to be in partnership between power and transport, power in the built environment, power in industry and commercial. And so it's going to require a lot of collaboration in ways that, frankly, our industry's never tried before. And I think, you know, to John's point, policy can certainly encourage that and create an enabling environment for it. But at the end of the day, the industry's got to step up and they've got to do it. And certainly we're willing to do our part.
John, some closing thoughts?
So we have to work fast. We have to get major reductions now. We know and understand the time frame in which we have to get those reductions. I think most utility leaders, people in industries that are carbon intensive, understand how to get to that 80%, or they're clearly getting their heads around it right now. So it really does come down to this last 20%. I would argue that, I'm not saying don't worry about the last 20%. What I am saying is we have time to figure that piece out. Let's focus on how we get the 70 to 80% reductions in the quickest time frame that we possibly can. We're going to learn a lot more between now and 2030 about what the best opportunities and what the best technologies are, whether that's hydrogen, whether it's carbon capture and sequestration, whether it's great battery storage, whether it's nuclear. There are a whole set of things that we just don't really have a sense of how they're going to fit into this larger picture. We can learn a lot in the next 7 to 10 years so that when we need to make those decisions about how we get to that final 20%, we're more informed, we have better technology, it's more affordable, those sets of things are going to benefit us. So I'm pretty hopeful. I think that we have a lot of work to do. We need a federal solution. It's great that we have states that are leading around the West and around the country. We've got to have that federal solution, but we can get a lot done in the meantime and put us on the right path.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Bryan. What we've heard today is some of the reality is what the progress has been made to date, where our trajectory is headed, what our momentum looks like, and how utilities can, as the focal point of attention based on the 100 RE and the 100 goals that you hear every single day, here's where we're at, here's where we're heading, and can utility progress drive progress beyond the electricity use in the days? Pay attention, we're on the move.